Okay, we're back at it. I'm sorry I didn't upload last week. I'm really trying to keep a video per week habit going, but I just needed a bit of a break to focus on some other things and to really just take the time that I had to actually just play the game without thinking too much about content for video or anything like that. So now that we're back, in this video we'll ease back into a little bit with something simple, something that isn't going to go into painful depths of detail or anything, but I think this is something that every single Madden player can benefit from, which is, in my opinion at least, one of the few unguardable route combinations in the entire game. Now, with the effectiveness of man coverage this year, combined with improved match coverage and highly customizable zones, it's harder than ever to find these types of route combinations that you can rely on to beat really most of the things that you'll find online. And to be honest, maybe there is something out there, but I think this will be effective for almost everything that you'll tend to see online. The route combination features only two routes, both of which are hot routable, but there are certain ways to maximize it to your benefit. So it's not a big play or anything, like a big one-play touchdown or anything like that, but I found myself going to it time and time again when I really needed to convert for a first down or just getting something going if I'm just struggling in general, which is why I think that every good player or really any player that plays this game should keep this concept in the back of their head when they need a key conversion. Now, I'm going to show this out of single back ace here because a lot of it's already set up for me, but you can do this really out of any set. I prefer to have kind of to work the two receiver side where there's a tight end attached to the line, to the offensive line, and then a wide receiver split out wide. But I'm sure that there's multiple ways that you can set it up in a variety of different formations. So although I'm going to show it in single back ace here, be sure that you can do it out of gun doubles, or I'm sure some empty sets, or you could be creative with it, but this is just simple for now. And if it wasn't obvious already from the thumbnail, we'll be looking at Z post Y out here, and essentially this out route, 10 or 15 yard out route from a tight end position is really, really difficult to guard because man coverage, no matter how good of a man defender it is, and usually if it's a tight end, it's actually a bit of a weaker man defender anyway, he can't cover that. Plus, you attack a soft spot of the defense where you're outside of the user's territory in the middle, but you're also inside of a lot of these crazy flat adjustments that people are doing. So it's a tender area that's really, really difficult to guard if your opponent doesn't know what they're doing, and even still it's not intuitive as to how you would stop it. And then what's good about if you do it out of ace is that you could do it easily to each side. So user goes left, you go right, user goes right, you go left. So really, really straightforward. But what we'll do is we'll just show you against man coverage for now, and then we'll mix it up in terms of zone coverage, combination of coverages, and so on, to show you how it works against everything and how you want to throw it, and so on and so on. So Z post Y out on offense, and we'll start with just a nickel cover 2 man coverage. Okay, so we got everything set up on defense here. Nickel cover 2 man, where we have safeties at the linebacker spot, and then we have a one step ahead corner in the slot, and then we don't really care about the other guys because really we're not involving the wide receivers here too much until we get into some of the zones. Maybe we'll do it, but otherwise that's kind of some of the personnel that you're going to see. And then on offense right here, like I was saying, it's really just these deep out routes coming from the tight end that are going to be really, really good for us. Now, the reason why we like it from the tight end is that we're guaranteed a free release off the ball, right? We don't want to get jammed and get obstructed and things like that. We want to go run right at our man defender, cut outside, and we're going to throw it right before the break, and it's pretty much a guaranteed catching situation. Now, we'll start off right here on the left side of things. We could easily set this up to both sides, but just on the left side, we'll start off with here because most of the times you'll have a linebacker or safety manned up on him, and you can do this smart routed, a smart routed out route, 10 yards is fine. Or if you can find a route or a play that already has this route in it, that's great, because for two reasons. It saves you time, and the other one is if it's third and short or fourth and short, you can't really do a 10 or 15 yard out route. That small out route really won't work nearly as well. So I would encourage you to find, at least some tight end set, whether it's gun double, single back doubles, ace, or anything like that, that has one of these stock out routes from your tight end, and you're going to be really, really good. You could potentially mess around with some of these corner routes and things like that, but the out is really what you're going to be looking at. And what we're looking at is just throwing it right before the break here, and you can rack catch that or possession catch that. And so what I've found is that I'm becoming this time and time again. If it's third down, fourth down, and I need a key conversion, I just go to that, right? And as I was saying before, you could set it up to both sides and essentially go to the side that the user doesn't pick, because it's just going to be almost a guaranteed conversion unless something totally weird happens. Now, I didn't go over it, but the one adjustment that you need to do, and this is something really to consider more so when we're going into the zone coverages, but really you're just comebacking or doing some sort of route that breaks outside on the wide receivers. I like a comeback because it's just one simple adjustment. You don't have to do smart routing or anything like that. But what we want to do is pull away those flat zones, and so we can hit that tender area and kind of the curl area where a lot of these defenses really aren't designed to defend too well. Now we can also attack the one step ahead corner, which you won't often see. One thing, if they're running just cover two man straight up as it is, he'll tend to get in a trail technique, and that can potentially mess things up. But if you just lowball it and just possession catch that, it's 100% catch. But if they're shading over the top like a lot of people are doing these days, then he won't get into that trail position, and it's just even easier for you. So right there, throw it kind of right before the break, and you just possession catch that, and you're good to go. Now, obviously, it's kind of a clunky situation where you're just throwing it right to the sticks and just falling down. But again, if you need that conversion, that's really all you need. Now, you could, in theory, run this all the way up and down the field, because it is really, really difficult to stop. But it's not the funnest thing to run, to be honest with you. It's just 10 yards, bam, that's it. So use it how you want. I really think it's more of a third down, fourth down type of thing. And then we can show you other things. We can go to cover zero. In this case, cover zero is even easier because you're going up against some of these safeties who are even worse, and you're just running straight at them, and there's just no chance that they'll be able to defend that. So come back, we can block the running back, and again, just right before this happens, we can possession catch that or even rack catch that in some cases. Okay, back to cover two man. You don't often see this case where they're just playing straight up cover two man with these two deep safeties right here, especially if they're shading over the top. There's almost those guys are almost completely useless. So you'll see things like that where they're putting guys in curl flats, and usually those guys are 20, 25, maybe 30 yards to defend against those deep crossers or so. And let me get off of this man defender right here. If we are, first of all, a 25-yard curl is going way deeper than these out routes anyway. But if we want to guarantee that we have some space, that comeback is going to be our friend, because he'll push him outside essentially. So we still have all this room right here to convert for our first down. So that's really man coverage right there. Like, there really is no way straight up man can guard this unless the user really baits you good and is able to undercut that and pick that off. But again, if you can set this up in a good way where you can have it to both sides, or even if you have another good concept to the other side, you just pick and choose the side really, and you'll be good to go. And then if they mix in different flat zones, or if they go to cover zero or cover one, it really doesn't matter, because that out route is going to, first of all, get a free release, beat his man, and then if you want to play it safe, you can just fall to the ground and get your first down. But I think in some cases, like particularly if you're running this on first down or so, you could probably get away with doing a rack catch or so. So right here, if I do the same thing, I can rack catch that. Usually doesn't matter. You only get a few extra yards anyway, but could be good. So that's man coverage. Let's go on to zone coverages right here. So what we'll do is we'll start with just a stock cover three So no zone adjustments or anything like that. And what I will do is I'll just run it just like this. So I'm not going to do the comeback adjustment. I'm just going to run it like this, and you'll see how tight that curl window is right here. So if I try to throw it right here, you see that that curl flat defender gets involved. Now, if I put this guy on a comeback, or even like a out route right here, first of all, if they're running just straight up cover 3, I mean, you could just look at this as a first read and throw that if you want. So if you want to run this in a smart way, then really you would look towards your wide receiver as your first option, whether that's a 10-yard out route or a comeback route. But if you're getting these things like cloud flats or 15, 20-yard flats to help with those and try to undercut those, then you're just going to have a lot more room in that curl window as you break outside, and then you can possession catch that. And then even if they protect the sticks to get all of those underneath defenders at the sticks, again, it doesn't really matter too much because you're still throwing horizontally between those zones and there's no one to defend that. And again, even if they try to do things like, man up the tight end, it still really doesn't matter right here because we know that that guy's going to get beat. So we'll have, the curl flat here drifting underneath the comeback. And then really it's actually even easier in this sense because you can throw it a little bit earlier and make even more space for yourself in that spot. Then moving along, we can go to things like quarters coverage right here, so match coverage. What'll usually happen is that early on you won't be able to throw it because you're in the window of this curl flat or quarter flat defender, I guess. But once you kind of break his window, then you're man-to-man with the safety, and usually you can catch that pretty easily. Now, in that case, I mean, first of all, you just don't see too much quarters and palms these days, but in that case, you might want to throw a bit of an underneath pass lead so it's not as tight like that last one, and you'll give yourself a little bit more space. Or if they are running match coverage, but they're doing things like putting those flat defenders into zone flats, like a cloud flat or something like that, it's just simply a matter of just throwing that a little bit earlier there, and just read where the zones are essentially. But by and large, it's a pretty simple read, either the zone's inside or the zone's outside. And just from my experience, running it online, running it against random plays, running it against specific plays, there's really only one zone or one defense that gives this problem. It's not man, it's not cover 3, it's not match. It is cover 2, gives it some issues, though you can still kind of work around it. So I'll go stock cover 2 right here with none of the zone adjustments or anything like that. But you'll see that the vertical hook widens better than the hook curl, forcing you to throw it a little bit later, but usually you can throw it underneath that cloud flat anyway. But in that case, if they are really trying to get this cover 2 corner involved, where he's underneath 5 yards or 10 yards or so, and it makes it really hard to squeeze it in between the vertical hook and the cloud flat, then we do still have that wide receiver to get into the mix. I'm trying to make this as simple as I possibly can for myself running it, and then for you guys as well, where it's just simply look at those tight end out routes. But if they're really squeezing you with cover 2, the only way they can really do that is to have the corner playing underneath. And let me just run this again just to show you how tight it can be. So you see you have to throw it a little bit earlier here, and you have to throw it underneath. And then if they are running, say, hard flats underneath, that can make that even more difficult. But if it is cover 2, you just make a simple read to the outside. So if it is like a hard flat, you can throw that comeback right here and get that guy involved as well. So if you really have a narrow focus and a narrow scope, of course, if you're looking at just one tight end, that user can get involved. If you're looking at the tight end and not the receiver, maybe this corner can get involved a little bit, especially if he has like acrobat and things like that. But as long as you're a little bit smart with it, taking a little peek on to the right there, seeing how the comeback's doing. If that's open, you can just go ahead and throw that right away. If it's not, chances are that out route over there is going to be wide open. Or you can set up a cover 2 beater on the other side, right? Just a simple fade over here. If it is cover 2, you go ahead and throw that fade, big easy gain. But if it is cover 3, I mean, in this case, it's a little bit more obvious, but if it's like cover 3 press, buzz press, or show 2, something like that, you won't be able to throw that fade, but then you know that you'll have this window open right here to throw that out route. Now, what you saw there was the tight end catching the ball and dropping it. So, if you have a good tight end, I mean, Kelsey's great tight end right here, so usually he hangs onto the ball. If you have a lesser tight end, that could be something to look at. Throwing in those tight windows can be tough. But you could potentially look into some of the abilities like tight out or some of the tight end abilities that are cheap and that can get you an easy catch. But by and large, I don't run any abilities there, and it's totally fine. The one thing is that Gunslinger makes this so much better. I have Brady here, who I think does a pretty good job at this. But if you have Gunslinger, he's just going to whip it right in there, and it's even easier of a catch. But by and large, it's really just, if it's man coverage, you'll see it right away. It's just throwing it right before he hits the break will give you your best separation. If it's cover 3, cover 2, it's you just kind of have to wait for him to clear the hook. If it's match, again, you just have to clear that kind of flat match 2 type of player. But it's an intuition that I think, at least for me, I built up really quickly, and I think you can as well. So take it to the practice mode. This particular play that I'm looking at here is in Saints. You have a few other ones, I think in 49ers, a couple other plays that has this nice stock out route, but you can look into things like single back doubles or gun doubles. Usually you'll find this nice out route right here, and then all you have to really do is run the comeback here. And at least what's good, you don't even have to come into a situation where you're running it on both sides unless you're really keen on running this all game long. But what I find is that usually if the user is like up here in this area right here, or let me run the vertical hook, just heel, your basic kind of instinct when you're usering is to stay inside these guys so they're not burning you on slants and crossers and posts and things like that. So what I find is that if you throw these low balls right here, they just can't ever react to the outside in time. So, even if there's a user involved there, at least the first couple times that you run this a game, and usually for me it's, I'll run it 1 to 3 times anyway, so not too many times, they're not really expecting that quick low ball to the out. And so even if they're kind of in the area, you can be pretty safe to throw that. But, if you want to be really safe, then you can find a situation where you have 2 different spots, or if it's a situation like they're running cover 3 and there's clearly 2 hook defenders, you can simply see which guy he's using and just go to the other side right here. So he's using outside, we're just going to go over here and find this big opening right here. Not threw that early, but even if we lowball that, it's just such a good throw. So that's that. I wanted it to be a simple video. I think I rambled on a bit too much, but I think it's just a fun, simple little tip that everybody can put into their game plan, whether they're coming up against one step ahead or 9-man drop coverage or some crazy stuff where, they have a really good defense where they're doing all sorts of different coverages and disguising it super well and their users all over the place. I still think it's a good thing to run because you don't have to dissect the defense too much. It's simple 1-2 read, or simple, you could even just look at the tight end in a lot of cases and throw it to him. Okay, so that will be it for this one. Keep in mind, if you've made it this far, congrats. But either tomorrow or the next day for Deuce Close Plus, the YouTube membership, we'll be dropping a video there, as I do every 2 weeks, a more in-depth look at things that I'm just generally interested in that don't necessarily work great for the general YouTube audience, but if you're kind of a nut like I am, it can be interesting stuff. And if you're already subscribed to it, expect a video diving into some of the weird things that you can do with the run and shoot with that 4th wide receiver that can mess with defenses alignments, that can open up routes against one step ahead and things like that. Some fun things you can do there that I'll be going over shortly. So keep a lookout for that, and I'll see you guys in the next one.